Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're continuing Book 9, which is the second book on friendship, looking at today at Chapter 2. So let's go right to it. Let's go right to the text. But there is perplexity too regarding such questions, and that as whether one ought to render everything to one's father and obey him in everything, or whether when a person is sick he ought to trust the doctor, or again whether one ought to elect as general someone with military skill. So in other words, okay, there's complex questions. These questions of making a decision, right? These are complexity in such questions as whether one ought to do everything what a father tells you, render everything to a father, and obey him in everything. Or then whether the question is to what degree that a person who's sick ought to trust his doctor, and whether the choosing of a general, right? Because of with military. Similarly, there is a complexity as to whether one must serve a friend more than a spoudios, a serious person, and whether one must repay a favor to a benefactor rather than give away something to a comrade. In other words, the next two things is choosing of obeying, question of obeying and following instructions. And the second one is should I, a friend or someone who's serious, should I give a, should I uh, uh, serve a friend more than a serious man? And I repay a benefactor a benefactor someone's giving me rather than give away something to a comrade. In other words, I have something to give. Should I give it to the person I'm owed to, or should I give it to a friend who need, right? Um, um, if both are not possible, right? These two things. It is defining all such matters precisely. Is defining all such matters precisely then no easy thing? For there are many and various differences at issue, connected whether what is involved is great or petty, noble or beautiful, coloss, or necessary. Okay, so therefore, there's questions. So what is at stake here? This is something is defining these obligations are this is what is at stake here? What are for there are many and various differences at issue. The question of these questions, these questions here are concerned with whether what is involved is great or petty, is it noble or necessary, beautiful. In other words, this idea the noble and the good is here's the noble and necessary requires a little point thought. The necessary things are usually things that there's no choice over. The noble things and the kalos, the things of the kalos, so the noble and the beautiful, are things of choice. So therefore, the things that we have, necessary things, are things like, oh God, if you have no choice on the matter. It's you need to do it or else. It's the choice is not necessary. Things often lack choice, whereas the things of choice, this is where the beautiful and the base are. The beautiful and the base are the noble and the beautiful versus the base and are connected. Okay, that someone ought to give back everything to the same person is not unclear. That someone ought to give back everything to the same person is not unclear. Nor is it unclear that for the most part one must repay goods. He must repay good deeds more than gratify his comrades, right? So therefore, he should have to. If someone has done you a good deed, you should repay it. This is more important than doing things for friends, comrades. So it's not clear that one, in other words, it says it give back to the same persons. In other words, you got something. Someone's giving you something. You've given them. You have to repay them, right? Give back everything to the same person is not unclear. Nor is it clear that for the most part you repay good deeds more than gratifying his comrades. Just as the person must pay back a loan to someone he owes more than he must give away something to a friend or a comrade. But perhaps not even this is always so. So even that, but perhaps but even this is not. For example, must the person who had been ransomed from pirates pay return the ransom of his ransomer, regardless of regardless of the sort of fellow he may be, or if the ransomer had not been kidnapped? Must he pay him back anyways if the fellow demands repayment? So therefore, someone who has been ransomed from pirates pay in return the ransom of his ransomer, regardless of the sort of fellow he is. Or if the ransomer had not been kidnapped, must he pay back if anyway if the fellow demands repayment? Or must he ransom his father um, first, even if he owes him his ransom money? Must he ransom his father even if he owes his ransom money? For it would seem that a person should ransom his father even in preference to himself, right? So yes, at one level, yes, it would seem that is the case. Preference even for himself. So this is more complex. He's saying this is not simple. Just as he, just as has been said, then a person must, in general, pay back a debt. Yes, in general, pay back a debt. But if an act of giving outstrips it in nobility, in other words, if the act of giving outstrips a really different thing in its nobility, or the repayment of a debt, what is outstrips its nobility or necessity of the repayment of the debt, one must incline towards these noble or necessary acts. In other words, the giving outstrips these things. The nobility or necessity of repayment of the debt. That one should pay back the debt, but this is much higher. One must incline towards these noble or necessary acts. For sometimes the repaying of a previous service is not even equal or fair when someone benefits a person whom he knows to be serious. But the repayment is to one whom, in other words, when someone benefits a person he knows to be serious, but the repayment is to one whom the serious person supposes to be corrupt. So therefore, okay, I'm helping you. Yes, I should give this over this. But here now, what happens? The superior person to repay, to give this back. You help me, but now when I have to give this back, you're corrupt. Should I give you back this, right? And in fact, sometimes a person should not make a loan even to someone whom he has given him a loan. In fact, sometimes a person should not make a loan, even to someone whom has given him a loan. For the original lender, supposing that he would recover the money, made the loan to a decent person, whereas now the decent person has no hope of recovering it from his original lender, who is base. So, in other words, you've given me loan, but now I give you a loan and you're bad. I'm not going to get it back. You gave it to me. You know I was good. I paid you back. I will pay back. But you're not the kind of sort that I can trust you paying me back. So should I make you a loan? Accordingly, if the original lender is base in truth, then his claim to worthiness to receive the loan is not equal or fair. Or if he is not of this character, but people suppose him to be, they would not think it strange to refuse him. So again, this is the perception of refusing you something. In other words, this is very this is the idea that okay, okay, you gave it to me, I can repay you, but you're not the same. Should maybe I shouldn't have received. Okay, this is the problem is um, maybe the obligation is the thing is not the money, but the kindness is that I've done you this deed. I've loaned you money. I pay you back. This is not about paying back. This is about giving the loan. So I've given you, you've given me a loan. I pay you back. Now you want a loan from me, but no, I don't think I'll get it back from you. But I gave you money in the past. Okay, this is the dispute. This is where the breakdown of the accordingly, if the original lender is base in truth, then his claim to worthiness to receive a loan is not equal or fair. Or if he's not of this character, in other words, even not of this character, but people suppose him to be. In other words, even if the question maybe he does not character, but everyone supposes that he is not a good character. He may be a good character, but everyone supposes. He says that the line here is, um, or if he's not of this character, but people suppose him to be, then it's not strange to refuse him. So it has been frequently stated that arguments concerning passions and actions possess the same definitiveness as those which with which they deal here. In other words, the question they deal with. The arguments concerning the passions and actions possess the same definitiveness of these as those things with which they deal. In that sense, this question of the same character: do I do this and I do like that? It is not unclear then that one should not give back the same things to all people. It is not unclear then that one should not give back the same things to all people, or all things, even to one's fathers, just as one does not offer all sacrifices, even to Zeus. So he says it's not unclear then that one should give back all things to all people, uh, things to all people, or all things even to one's father, just as one does not offer all sacrifices to Zeus. But since different things go to parents, brothers, and comrades, and benefactors, one must distribute to each what is properly his and fitting. So this concept here is not only what is proper to them, properly his and fitting. One must distribute what belongs to each and what is fitting to each. People appear to do this. In fact, they invite their relatives to weddings because the family line is something they share in common, and as are the actions pertaining to their family. So they invite this. People also suppose that relatives ought to gather, especially at funerals, for the same reason. They come together. The family, the weddings, because they share something in common. The families that they held in common. It would seem as well that one ought to provide sustenance, especially to parents, on the grounds that we are in their debt, and that it is nobler thus to provide for those who are the causes of our being than to provide for ourselves, right? So therefore, we should kind of like give to them, make sure they can feed the debt to parents, because they are the cause of our being. Honor too we owe to parents, just as the gods, though not every honor. So we owe honors to parents and gods, but not every honor. For we do not owe the same honor to a father as to a mother, nor in turn do we owe them the honor proper to a wise man or a general. Rather, we owe them the honor due a father and a mother respectively. So you don't have the same, everyone doesn't get the same honor. You give the honor, the relative honor to the person respective to what they serve, who they are and what they're doing, the relation, in a sense, the mother and father, right? To every old man is due the honor that accords with age, in rising and giving him a seat at the table and such things. Okay, this is the, in other words, to every old man that's due the honor that accords with age, and rising and giving. To comrades in turn, comrades in turn, and to brothers is due frankness and the sharing of all things in common. So therefore, you share the things that are in common in that sense. In other words, brothers and comrades, you is due frankness, on telling them the truth, maybe the hard truth, frank in that sense, right? And sharing all things in common, sharing these things in common in that sense. And to relatives, fellow tribesmen and citizens, and all the rest, one must always try to distribute to them what is properly theirs, and to compare what belongs to each, given their nearness and kinship, and their virtue or usefulness. Very interesting. In other words, regarding everyone else, relatives, fellow tribesmen. So parents you defer to. There is that you should give them more than you give them. Brothers and comrades, you should have things. There should be equality here to some degree. But and to relatives, fellow tribesmen, citizens, and the rest, you should distribute to them what is properly theirs. What belongs to them? What is their due? And compare what belongs to each. The relative things of what they should get is their what? Their nearness and kinship and their virtue. In other words, the nearness of kinship. So you should, the kinship relationship should be the intimate family, the follow family, the fellow tribesmen, strangers, others. Okay, citizens and others. Right. That's the kind of networks of the question of kinship. But the question of what? Virtue, and therefore those who are the good character in the same like this, and then lastly, usefulness, those who are useful to you. So the nearness and kinship and their virtue or usefulness. Now, in such comparison involving members of the same families is easier, whereas involving people of different ones is a different. People of different ones is more of a task. So kinship, it's easy; it's much more common. But those of different things, of of strange enough citizens, fellow tribesmen, citizens, and the rest, this is more difficult test. Nevertheless, one must not, on this account, give up the attempt, but rather make the relevant distinctions to the extent that is possible. So therefore, in other words, you should, maybe even argue that if it's easiest to do this, therefore you do that the easiest. Next is the fellow kin tribesmen, right? By what is tribesmen here? This is you can understand the dime in that sense, maybe the local community, the people in your village, the citizens, those of your city, fellow citizens, and then that there's a kind of corresponding more requirement, this, then that, right? Nevertheless, one must not, on this account, give up attempt, but rather make the relevant distinctions to the extent that that's possible. And that's how he ends this chapter. So we'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below. And I will respond to them and answer them when I see them. If you've liked it, hit the like button. Hit the like button, please. It helps the algorithm. It helps get attention to not only this video, but other videos. And gets it more, gets higher elevation and look. If you liked it, share it, subscribe, share it far and wide, share it on your social media, share this. Again, please share it far and wide. Again, this also helps the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm. Next thing you do, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Encourage others to come check the channel out, even only for the ethics discussion that we're having here, or to the other videos that we discussions or themes that we've had in other aspects of this channel that we've covered. Next thing you do, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Encourage others to come check the channel out, even only for the ethics discussion that we're having here, or to the other videos that we discussions or themes that we've had in other aspects of this channel And you can find these in the playlist. Another thing you can go do is what? Ooh, I don't know. Check things out. Encourage them to subscribe. Now, if you encourage your friends to come check the channel out, and then another thing is, if you didn't like it, you can always thumbs down it, but say why in the comments so we can, people can learn something from it. Another thing you can do is you can, if you want to follow me on social media, you can follow my links below. The links to social media, check what are out there. Usually, some things are more active than others. I probably should alter them. Some things I haven't even used in years. Mine I haven't used in a couple of years. But Facebook, Twitter is usually, and then Gab. Occasionally, I post things on Gab, just as usually posting my video release. Or if you want to know more about me as a scholar and as a researcher, and check my research out and things like that, you can do so at my academic social media below the social media. And if you want to help me to do what I do, you want to help contribute to this, because we don't have the the feed us money things are not monetized yet from the point of view of having a tip jar. The hat out there, please feed us. The guitar playing, the philosophy guy, and the guitar playing in the street, give cat in the run. The philosopher giver, teaching philosophy courses with the hat. No, we don't have that capacity yet. But if you want to help, you can do so through Patreon or subscribe. Our lists are below, or you can buy one of my books that are listed through either your local bookstore. But but they don't order for you, then your online bookstores like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or Libris, and whatever, or you can order through the publisher themselves. But my Washington University one is the only one that I have trouble with. They might be able to give you an ebook, but they're not going to be able to do the hardback. I think they ran out. They might do a reprint. Well, that's it. We will turn next time to the next time we'll start. We'll look at chapter 3. We'll take care and bye bye. Have a good one.